everybody, in today's video I am talking about radon gas. I'm going to give you a little bit of information about what it is, what parts of the United States you might find it, and what it might mean if you find it in your home, or if you're buying a home, if you would find it in a home that you were expecting to either sell or purchase. So if you have any questions about radon gas, stay tuned because I'm going to tell you everything that I know about it in this video. Alright, so what radon is, it's a naturally occurring radioactive gas that comes from the breakdown of uranium in soil, rock, and even groundwater. You can't see it, you can't smell it, you can't taste it, but it can seep into homes through cracks in the foundation, construction joints, or even gaps around the pipes. Now, if radon is found in a person's home, there's a couple of things you need to be aware of. First of all, there are health risks associated with radon gas. Long-term exposure to high radon levels is the second leading cause of lung cancer after smoking, and the risk increases with both the level of radon in the home and the length of your exposure to it. Now, testing is available. If you expect there could be radon in the home, you could have a test. And there are a couple of types of tests. There's either a short-term test kit, which is just going to be collecting data for a couple of days, but there are also long-term test kits that will collect data for 90 days or more. That's probably more accurate, but if you are buying a home, that's not going to be possible because you're not going to have a 90 days to do a test. So, but if you are living in the home already, you may want to do the 90-day test kit, and that measures the average radon levels in the home. Now, the action threshold that is recommended in the U.S. by the EPA recommends to take action if radon levels are 4 pentacuries per liter. I've probably said that wrong. Pentacuries per liter, and the abbreviation, and what I'm going to call it, is PCIL or higher. 4 or higher is where the EPA recommends you take action. Now, mitigation is certainly possible. If you have discovered levels that are higher than 4, a radon mitigation system can usually fix the problem pretty easily. The most common method is what they call a sub-slab depressurization system, where the pipes and a fan vent the radon gas out of the home from beneath the home to the outside, and the costs are typically between maybe $1,200 and $2,500 to install such a system. Now, before I get much further, I want to say my channel is Living in Northern Arizona, where I talk about everything about living in Northern Arizona and buying and selling homes in Northern Arizona, plus real estate in general. This is a real estate channel. My name is Dawn Dickinson, and I am a licensed real estate agent in the state of Arizona. So if you ever have a question about buying or selling a home in Arizona, please reach out to me. My contact information is in the description below, and you could give me a call, a text, an email, or you could even go to my website and schedule an appointment, because I love it when people from YouTube reach out and I talk about real estate. So, now I'm going to talk about how does radon affect a real estate transaction. And in reality, in real estate, radon is actually a common, fixable, and negotiable issue. It's usually handled like any other home repair that you might request or find during your due diligence or inspection process if elevated levels are detected. Now, the disclosure thing. Now, at least in Arizona, sellers are required to disclose all material issues to the home, and I'm pretty sure this is true for most of the states in the U.S. Now, in Arizona, we have a form that home sellers will fill out during the escrow, hopefully before the escrow, where they disclose everything they need to know, a buyer might need to know about a house. It's like a questionnaire, the seller property disclosure statement. I am sure other states will have a similar form as well, but what it does is if the seller knows there's radon in the home, they're required to disclose it to the buyer. And if they don't, if they know about it and they don't disclose it, that can get them into trouble. Now, a buyer during the home inspection process, the due diligence process, which is usually about 10 to 12 days, if they are concerned about radon radon, excuse me, if they're concerned about radon, or if there's anything suspicious that might let you think there could be elevated radon in the home, then during the due diligence experience time, just do a radon test. And if high levels are found during this inspection, there are several things you can do. The most, what you're going to do first is going to ask the seller, please install a mitigation system to rectify the situation before closing. Now, the seller could say, okay, I will do this. Or the seller could say, oh, I'm out of state. Or in a lot of cases where I'm selling, the owners have died and the heirs are selling it. They could say, well, I'm out of town. I can't do this, but I'll give you a $1,200 credit, a $2,500 credit so that you can put in the mitigation system after the home closes. Or the seller could just say, no, I'm not doing it. I've given you, $20,000 off the listing price, do it yourself. So those are the three options that can happen during the due diligence, the negotiation period for repairs. And now if you are buying the home, when the seller comes back and says, no, I'm not going to do it, that gives you the option to say, well, forget it, cancel the transaction and get your escrow deposit back. But most of the time, because it's such an easy and inexpensive fix, a radon elevated levels does not cancel a typical real estate purchase. So just keep that in mind. Now, there is something else that is interesting, is that some buyers, if they see, oh, the house already has a radon mitigation system installed, it's kind of a plus, because in their mind, they're like, wow, first of all, the seller is on top of the maintenance needs of the house. The seller is proactive, and maybe because of that, the house is even more well-maintained than I thought, because the seller is already fixing stuff. And so having that mitigation rectification for radon in place could be a plus in the eyes of a buyer. All right, so next let me tell you about areas in the United States that have the higher risk of radon. I did find this cool chart from the EPA, and I'm going to put it up, but basically radon levels will vary widely by geography, and the EPA created this radon zone map that I'm putting up, that map that ranks the counties and the states in the United States by risk. Now, the highest risk zone is zone 1, and in zone 1 the predicted average radon level is going to be above the 4 PCIL levels that we talked about. That's where the EPA recommends that you do something to mitigate the radon problem. So zone 1 includes much of the upper Midwest. And in this chart, it's the areas in the dark orange. And so much of the upper Midwest, which would include like Iowa, Minnesota, North Dakota, South Dakota, Wisconsin, and also the Appalachian areas, which would include Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Kentucky, and parts of Ohio, and then some parts of Colorado and Montana due to the uranium-rich rock in the area. Now, zone 2 is the moderate zone risk. Zone 2, which is all of Arizona, for instance, but zone 2, you're going to have the radon levels predicted to be between 2 and 4 of the PCIL levels. Now, remember, 4 and above is where the EPA recommends you take some type of an action. And zone 2 is going to be largely sections of the Northeast, the Rocky Mountain states, and parts of the Great Plains. And then finally you have zone 3. Zone 3 has the lowest risk. That is below 2 PCIL levels of radon. Now, zone 1 is going to be much of the South, like Florida, Texas, Louisiana, and Southern California. But still, I want you to know that there's no areas that are going to be totally radon free, and that the elevated level could actually occur anywhere. But this is kind of going to give you a general idea of what parts of the United States are going to be more likely to have levels of radon that are higher than recommended. And these are the areas where if you're buying a home, you're probably going to want to have a radon test done during the inspection process. Next, let's talk about radon levels in Arizona, and I'm going to talk a little bit about Arizona radon levels by county and what I have found. Now, these data I'm talking about right now are based on a 2022 report from the American Lung Association where they did data and surveys in the state of Arizona. And here are some of the county level data that they had reported. Now, I want to let you know that a lot of the smaller counties in Arizona have a very tiny sample, and they are only reporting in this report counties that have at least 10 test results to use in their sample. Now, if any of you have taken statistics, and I did, but it was a long time ago, because I mean, I got my MBA in 1994, so I took stats, graduate level stats in 94, and a couple times in my undergraduate. A sample size lower than 30, you know, that's kind of tough because it's a tiny sample, and that means the accuracy can vary greatly. So in tiny counties, you might only have 10 reports to use in a sample. In a big county like Maricopa, there are a lot of data, and so those results are going to be more accurate. That being said, know that the highest level, mean level of radon was Gila County. Now, Gila County is, I believe, globe. It is slightly north and east of Maricopa County. The mean radiant level of homes tested in Gila County were approximately 5.4 PCI-Ls, which is among the highest counties with at least 10 tests. Now, again, the level that the EPA recommends you fix is 4. So 5.4, if you are buying a home in Gila County, I would definitely recommend you get the radon test during your inspection period. Now, Maricopa, for example, has the biggest population, so we're going to have the biggest sample size for test. The average or the mean was 2.6 PCI-Ls. Again, many tests were done. There were a wide variation. There were some homes that exceeded the action level, but again, the action level is 4 and above, and the average or the mean is 2.6 in Maricopa County. Now, the lowest level or incidence of radon found was in Yuma County, Yuma being at the South California border of Arizona. The mean level in Yuma County was 0.6 PCI-Ls, so that was amongst the lowest of the counties. Now, again, you've got to remember that the tiny sample is concerning when you're talking about averages, and just because you're living in a county that has low levels of radon doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Now, I want to say that I have been doing real estate for like 9 years, and I have not encountered it, and I, again, talk a lot with my colleagues, have not really encountered it much, but again, if it is important to you or you suspect the house could have radon, definitely would want to get it tested during the inspection period. But most of the time, my buyers aren't testing it because there's a lower risk in Arizona than some of the tests. Now, there are a couple things to mention that I want you to know that have been some higher levels reported of radon in Yavapai County, which is primarily where I sell. That's where I live. Coconino County, which is my second biggest county for sales, and even Graham County. Again, occasionally has been found. Doesn't mean every house is going to have it. Most of the buyers aren't looking for it because it's not very prevalent. But again, if you have health issues, or if you're concerned, or if it's an area that has radon reported, you may want to order the radon test during the due diligence period. And I'm going to go into that a little bit. I'll let you know what this means in practice. And in limitations. So even in counties like we were talking about where there's low levels of radon, that doesn't mean that all the houses are risk-free. So just keep that in mind. Counties like Maricopa where there have been many tests to use in the sample size, that mean is going to be more accurate. The mean in Maricopa being 2.6 PCI-Ls. But you're again going to see a variation in where it is in the state, how old the house is. Those could be things that might set up the risk. Testing in some counties are just way underdone, and so it's going to be difficult for us to get an accurate idea. If you've got a county that only has 10 tests, I mean, that's very small. And a county with the lowest test counts, like I said, are going to be less reliable. Fewer than 10 tests, that's not a very good sample. So just gonna let you know in summary, overall, Arizona has some of the lower radon levels than many other states, but of course we are not risk-free. Nobody is ever risk-free, and about 1 in 15 homes in Arizona overall have been reported with higher levels than acceptable for radon. And some of the counties like Gila, definitely higher at risk. Gila, now if that's where Globe is, there's a lot of mining activity in Globe, so that could be the cause of it. And if you're buying in one of those counties, I would recommend the radon test. If you're in some of the other counties, that's up to the buyer if they think it's an issue or not. I myself have never tested one in the homes that I've bought, and I've probably bought over the years, 7, 8 homes. So what does this mean to you if you're buying a home in Arizona? Well, of course, just know that the radon test is an option of a test that you can do during the inspection process. Typically in Arizona, it's 10 to 12 days where you can do your home inspection, your septic tank inspection, and any other inspections you might want to have, like termite inspection. You could have the radon test done during that time. And if elevated levels are fine, say, again, above that 4 PCIU, then you can have a mitigation system installed. It's very straightforward, not that expensive, and it usually costs about $1,200 to $2,500. And it's been said that they work very well. You can ask the seller to pay for that. The seller can either install the test during the escrow process. They can say, well, I can't install it, or I'm going to give you a credit that you can do it after closing. Or the seller could say no because, whatever reason, I got multiple offers, so I'm not doing anything, or, oh, I've given you $25,000 off the asking price, I'm not going to do it. But anyhow, if the seller comes back and says no, that I won't do it, that gives you the option of canceling the contract if you don't want to deal with it. So many buyers actually see if there's a mitigation system in place, it's kind of a plus. They're thinking that the homeowner is taking very good care of the house and that they're proactive on issues that they find while they live there. But the bottom line is that radon is really a manageable issue, whether you're moving from another state or if you're buying your first home. Always test the property if you're worried about that. It's pretty simple, affordable, and it protects your long-term health. Now, my name is Dawn Dickinson. I hope you found the video helpful. The channel is Living in Northern Arizona. If you liked the video, please do me a favor and give me a thumbs up. Consider subscribing. I do post videos just like this every single week on the channel. And remember, I am a licensed real estate agent in the state of Arizona. So if you ever have a question about buying or selling a house in Arizona, if you're thinking of moving here, please reach out. I love talking to my YouTube viewers. My contact information is always in the description below, and you can give me a call, a text, an email, or go to the website and schedule an appointment. I hope you enjoyed the video, and I hope to see you back on my channel again next week.